Hello again, thank you for joining me for our second video. My name is Craig, I'm the Chief Instructor at Polk Beach. Today I'm going to talk about paddle techniques. So for those of you that want to be staying out longer out on the water, want to be going further using less effort, improving your paddle technique is going to be the biggest thing that's going to make a difference for you when you're out there. As you're going to be using your whole body, you're going to be getting much better exercise. And hopefully just enjoy being out in the water even more. So the three things we're going to be mainly focusing on today, we're going to be looking at paddling in a straight line, some efficient paddle strokes, and a little bit on turning as well. So with all the tips and information I'll be going through, I'll try and give out some practical things that you can try at home, whether you have your board or maybe some more creative ways of doing it. But evidence has shown that when you're sort of setting up these simulators, that the more you can make it realistic, the better it will help you remember those moves or those exercises that you're practicing. So if you want to practice some of these, maybe put on your wetsuit. If you're one of those that likes to fall in a lot, maybe get someone to splash you with water as you're practicing these. It all just helps to assist with your muscle memory, so that when you do get out on the water, it should hopefully just become that much more naturally. A great thing we do when we're coaching at maybe more of an intermediate advanced level, and for windsurfing or any sports really, is using video analysis to really help to sort of check that stance, that posture, and really look back at what you've been doing to then try and improve. So it'd be great if you can do that in a mirror. You can get that instant feedback, adjust your stance. If you've not got that option, then get someone to video you, have a look back, maybe try and practice that a few times, then video it again, and then you can really hopefully then see the difference. So it's a great couple of things to do there. So the first thing we're going to be going through is just going in a straight line. First thing you'll be thinking about that is really making sure that your hands are stacked so that your paddle shaft is as vertical as it can be. This will obviously help you go in a straighter line because you're making the actual line of the paddle blade go much straighter. Okay, so you're really trying to lean that top hand over, really trying to lean into that paddle stroke and get that shaft as straight as you can. A great way you can do this is just videoing yourself, or try and do this in front of a mirror if you have the option, and really just see how far over it is you need to lean. A lot of the time people will think they're doing it, and it's usually sort of that angle, maybe not as much as that, but you need to go as far over that top hand as you can, really extend that top hand. You're trying to make a window through which to look through with your top arm here. If you're looking through that window, then you're likely you've got it as straight as you can. So we're trying to create this window which we're looking through our arms to really make sure that we've got the paddle as straight as possible, so we're going in a straight line as possible. So I'm just double checking with my spirit level here. So this is the sort of straightness we're looking for, making sure we are going to be going in a straight line as much as we can. The next thing going in a straight line is making sure the actual blade is perpendicular to the board, so it's a 90-degree angle all the way along from when it goes in at the front of the board, straight all the way to when it comes out. We're trying to keep that as sort of a 90-degree angle as possible. A smaller thing, but just as important, might sound silly, but just looking where you're going. If you spend your time paddling and you're kind of just looking off in the distance, looking around, you're not going to know if you're going in a straight line or not. It's great if you can pick something you're looking at, pick where you want to go, look at it, and you'll keep going that way hopefully. Swapping hands can be another one to help go in a straight line. Inevitably, as you're paddling along, you might start to tire, you might start to not be reaching over as much, and you'll start to ever so slightly veer off to one side. So if you do 2 or 3 paddle strokes on one side, then swapping over, and then do a couple on the other side. It'll just help to kind of keep you on track if you do find that you're veering off ever so slightly. So 2 or 3 on each side should help you go in a bit more of a straighter line. And the last thing that will help going straight is the trim of the board. So it just means sort of front to back, how much weight is on either end. So if you're just a little bit too far back, what tends to happen is you're digging the fin in, the board kind of rides up a little bit, and it's just that much easier to turn the board. So to really exaggerate, if you're really far back and you do one paddle stroke, you're likely to just turn off that way. So just make sure you're over the handle, right in the center of the board, and that'll just help you go in a straighter line as well. The second thing we're going to be looking at is making that paddle stroke more efficient. So the first thing will be the catch and release. So that just basically means where you're going to be catching the water, paddling at the very front, and where you're going to be releasing it. The thing that people normally do kind of mistakenly on this bit is just releasing the paddle a lot later than they should be. So if I was to show you that again, as we're going for the catch, it's as far forward as you can. Going for the release, it's by your feet, because you'll see that the paddle blade itself is actually vertical in the water. Any further back, and we're just lifting water, we're just kind of wasting our energy at that point. So for the catch and release, it's great if you can mark a point where you're going to get the paddle in. So I've got this nice mark, my red logo here is where it's going to go in, and I've marked the point, this paint can, when it should release. And you can double check if that's in the right place, whereas if you look at your paddle blade, it should be vertical, and that looks good. So we're going to be reaching forward, that's my catch, paddling backwards, I hit my can, so I know that's when I come out. And we want to try and get that in your muscle memory, so practicing that, coming out, try and notice when that's coming out. To really make that catch as efficient as we can, we're trying to extend our arms, we're sort of punching out with our fists, and even turning our hip towards that side will help us get that little bit further reach, to really help us drive forward with that paddle stroke. The next thing we can do as we're coming through that paddle stroke is using our whole body, rotating our core to drive power. So we're reaching, as we're coming through, we're really just turning our body. We're almost keeping our arms straight, not really using them. We're using our body to twist, and that's what's driving the power. Again, board trim with this one to help being efficient. If you're too far forward, it can just mean that you're sort of digging the board into the water, into the waves, and it will just slow you down a little bit. And the same as before, if you're too far back, it'll just be spinning all over the place, so just not making it as efficient as you can be. And the last sort of smaller thing again is just make sure that your blade really is all the way in the water. Otherwise you're just sort of feathering it and it's not really giving you that much drive. So up until sort of the shaft of the paddle, will really make sure you're getting as much power through each paddle stroke. So turning is the next thing we're going to have a look at. The normal way to be doing that, how we teach it on the beach, we'd say just draw a big sort of letter C from the front of your board all the way around to the back. And you can actually draw this in the sand and you can see that shape being drawn. So a great thing you can do to practice this, if you're just trying to do your C shapes and they're not maybe as wide as they need to be, maybe try and put a bottle down or something that as you reach out, you're reaching to try and knock that thing over, and you'll know you've gone as far as you can. If you can then do that a few times, maybe put the bottle a little bit further out, just to try and increase that reach, maybe a little bit further than you're comfortable doing. That'll really help to get that turn as an actual turn. What we see a lot out on the beach when I'm teaching paddleboarding, it's usually not enough, so they'll sort of just do it too close to the board, and all that's really doing is you're still just paddling forwards. So normally when you want to turn, it's because you're going to hit something, and you'll find people just kind of speed up into the thing they're going to hit. The same as when they do the tail to nose turn. Again, you just need to do that really nice wide C shape, as wide as you can. And again, the common mistake is that you'll just sort of do a kind of almost a parallel line to the board, and you're just going to reverse and slow you down. And so when you want to again try and turn away from something, you just end up reversing, and you might end up hitting something behind you. So really try and practice that either way, front to back, back to front. Reach out as far as you can. You notice I always bend my knees a little bit because you're really pushing that water. Just give you that extra bit of power as you push that round. That'll just help you do a much more efficient turn. When you're doing a front to back turn, so if I was doing it from this way round, you might notice that you do quite a massive arc. So it's great if you just want to casually, slowly sort of turn around in a huge bay. If you're trying to go for that quicker turn, the back to front one's always better. It almost turns you on a point. So it's a sort of efficient way of turning that way. Another turn you can have a look at, something to practice as well, is the step back turn. So you normally do your leash foot would go back, so mine would be my right. Try and get as big a step back as you can. I'm a little bit worried I'm standing some milk crates here, but try and get as far back as you can in one big step. And then what you're doing is you're just going to be doing the same sort of C shape, bending your knees. Try and trim the board with your feet at this point. And again, just sweeping it round, keep looking up where you're going. You're going that way. But yeah, good thing to practice if you have your board, or if not, you can mark something out on the ground. Just try and take that big step back without looking, see how far back you can get, and just try and increase that just so you're ready that when you get out on the water you can give those ones a go. If you're looking for a bit of inspiration for some exercises to stay SUP fit for when we can get back out on the water, I was going to share with you a few of the things that I do just so I do stay ready to get back out on the water. It's anything really that will sort of get your core, your legs, your shoulders. So some plank variations, a few different ways of doing that. You've got some squats, some lunges, maybe a few arm and leg reaches. You can try that, which also helps improve your balance. And some push-ups as well. So any of those things, great to try out. Obviously have a research into that yourself. Make sure you stretch and that sort of thing as well. And you can give those ones a go. Okay, to recap a few key points from the video. When you want to go in a straight line, make sure those hands are stacked and you're keeping the paddle shaft vertical. When the blade goes in the water, try and keep it at 90 degrees to the board and going in a nice parallel line to the board for that paddle stroke. And make sure you keep looking where you want to go. For efficient paddle strokes, make sure that the catch and release, the paddle's going in as far forward as it can, and when it's coming back, you're just releasing out by your feet, not too far back and just wasting energy lifting water. As you're going through that paddle stroke, make sure you're twisting and rotating with your core, and that's where you're going to get the power from. And for both those points, make sure the trim of the board is nice and flat, you're in the center, not too far forward and not too far back. For turning, if you're going for those C turns, try and practice that reaching as wide as you can, try and knock something over. And you can practice those step back turns as well, that nice big step back on your board, just to sort of get into that muscle memory practice of it as well. I hope you enjoyed the video this week. If there's got any comments or any questions, please email us or comment on the video and we'll get back to you. Thanks again.